Yeah. Hey, everybody. And a couple familiar names here. My name's Danny. I am our recruitment manager here at Code Platoon. I basically serve as your point of contact from the moment that you show any interest within Code Platoon to the first day of class. So if you have any questions around the application process, questions about our programs, the different cohorts that we have, the different time capacities that we offer, as well as a bit of funding, how, to fund your cohort. I can answer just about anything that you could think of, but then I also have some other people that are more subject matter experts. So if you do need like some more really kind of specific, detailed help with funding, I have Tish, who's not on the call right now, but she works a lot with the benefits side. And yeah, I'm here to help and answer any questions that you might have.
Awesome.
Hi.
Oh, sorry, Sanjata. Yes, you are also
Oh,
here.
yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Sunjata. I am the local recruitment coordinator here at Code Platoon, and I do a little bit what Danny does. I, of course, am here to support all prospective students here at Code Platoon. But since I'm the local recruitment manager, I would be able to answer any all questions you have about what Code Platoon in person might look like. And also, maybe if you're thinking about relocating to Chicago, of course, that'd be a conversation I'd love to have. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny and Sanjata. So right off the bat, if anyone has any questions, we're happy to take those. You can put them in the chat, you can voice them. And just to kind of get us started, I think like one of the biggest questions we get, especially like around this time of year, is for folks who have never coded before but are interested in a Code Platoon program, like how can they figure out if that's something they want to learn?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the strongest things that you can do, one of the best things that you can do is kind of get an understanding of whether this career path is right for you. Ultimately, software engineering is something that is not commonly taught in high school, not like math and science where people get exposed to it early in their life. So it can be a novel and new thing for a lot of individuals. We do have, oh, I was about to share that link. Good job, Kayla. Intro to Coding Live. So if you are on our website, and Kayla kind of made it easy with that hyperlink, but we offer free programs, basically programs that cost you nothing. You don't need to be in the application process to actually like participate in some of this. It is Intro to Coding Live, self-paced, kind of like Duolingo, where if you're learning Spanish, French, Italian, you can learn at your own pace. You can basically boot up the application, get into that website, and start learning through our different modules. We do teach that in Python, which is, in my opinion, a very user-friendly language to read and write. It doesn't have a ton of syntax, so it's a bit more legible. It's a bit easier for you to write and express code without as many lines or characters. And yeah, you could do that at your own pace whenever you so like. And then we also have Intro to Coding Live, which is another version of Intro to Coding where you have an instructor. In this case, DJ Mann is our instructor. He is the president of our alumni association. He's a graduate of our program, and he will be on these calls for, usually a duration of about 2, 3 hours, where we are learning the basics of coding. We are exercising and working our way through problems. He's teaching you some of the fundamental basics, and that is on a set time parameter. So the kind of first class, which is an intro class in a sense, is going to be at the end of February, and then the class really starts kicking off in March. So would definitely recommend that if you are interested and have no experience to sign up for both. I mean, they're both free tools and give you a lot of resources to support your learning.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. Looks like we don't have any questions just yet. So another one that we get a lot that I think is worth talking about are like, there's a couple different programs available at Code Platoon. What are those, and how can someone pick which one they might want to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So full stack software engineering is kind of our cornerstone program. That's one that we actually offer in two different capacities. So you can take that full time in an immersive setting, which is 40 hours a week. Monday through Friday. Think of that as like a full-time commitment. And full stack software engineering is really akin to like web development. So if you've been on, any popular website like Facebook, Amazon, um, Spotify, anything like that is basically kind of working on the front end of what you are experiencing as an end user. So, like the different layouts of somebody's Facebook profile page, or deals for Black Friday, Amazon, specials, and then the back end is all the logic that kind of builds that website out. So, if you're clicking a button that is a set of headphones, it takes you to the right page, and it doesn't take you to like lawnmowers. So ultimately, they're creating unique websites that customers are enjoying, and it is really about building something new, building something different. If you are interested in more of the infrastructure of how these websites operate at a high level, or how this code is being deployed, that is more akin to AI, cloud, and DevOps. Cloud computing is basically the process of taking what would have been on-prem servers and sending it into the cloud to be held at a third-party offsite location. So there's a ton of them now. Amazon is kind of the biggest player in this space, but a lot of organizations now have a lot of their information and data and programs run in the cloud. And cloud computing is a field where you're basically kind of learning how these programs and this information is disseminated to a third party and then safely transferred. So some analogies that I've used is, if you're a car manufacturer, there's probably a team that's really focused on creating the brand new Mustang, designing what that looks like, what are the features, how customers are going to enjoy the car, specifications in that regard. But your car plant facility that's building the car, well, they don't care as much about the design of the car. They already have that. They care about the efficiencies and the way that the car is being built. What is that assembly line process? How can we make sure that things are smooth, structured, and that the actual design team's idea is being brought to fruition? So, two different sides of technology, but both very important. And I usually think that people that are a little bit more creative, that want to be a little bit more in control of what the program is doing, that is going to be full stack software development. If you are more interested in the logistics and the infrastructure and how things are being disseminated, that might be more AI, cloud, and DevOps. That being said, though, it's really beneficial if you can have a good understanding of both. So we actually, once we launched AI, cloud, and DevOps, had a lot of people that graduated from full stack software engineering and decided that they wanted to bolster their skills. So there's no real like wrong way to do it. Sometimes it's just what is your goal and what is the fastest way to get there.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny. We just got a question in the chat from Sean. I have prior obligations for school next September, but I'm very interested in this program. Am I able to do the in-person course up until September and finish via online?
So unfortunately, you cannot switch your course parameters. So if you are in person, you are designated as in person. You can't then switch to remote. So you kind of have to decide whether or not you can be in person and finish out that cohort in its totality, or whether it makes more sense to start remote and stay remote.
Awesome. Short and sweet answer there. Um, awesome. Yeah, no problem. Um, I did see a couple of folks who were here have already submitted part one of the application, which is awesome. So unless there's any questions, any other questions, or any questions about what we just talked about, maybe we could talk a little about how to finish your application.
Yeah, absolutely. So part one is definitely something that, it's a pretty low lift. You can get that done in about 10 minutes or so. The real kind of bulk of the work that comes into part two of the application is getting through the coding exercises. We kind of mentioned some of the different resources that we offer for free for you to be able to understand some software engineering fundamentals. But in part three, or I'm sorry, in part two of your application, you'll be asked to complete three exercise questions. These are hosted on an online, a web-based site called CoderByte. And in CoderByte, they have a web-based IDE. So basically, what that means is that you can write code without needing to download any programs to your machine. It is really helpful. It makes it easy and clean for you to write code in there. It also does have kind of a memory on the side, on the right-hand side. It does have an output, so you can kind of test some of the code there. But I highly recommend if you are really interested in our program to get onto CoderByte and get a look at what those exercise questions are as soon as possible. I think most people like digesting problems before they attempt to solve it. And I think it's really helpful to understand what kind of questions we're asking you to complete so that you can maybe in the back of your mind, maybe while you're through the workday, just kind of break it down into different smaller chunks and start working through that. It can definitely be a wide spectrum of how long it takes prospects and students to get through those three exercise questions. I've talked to people that will knock it out over the course of a weekend. I've talked to people that will spend, several months attempting to complete those exercises. It really depends on what your technical proficiency is with software engineering, how much experience you have, and how just much you're retaining that knowledge. But if you are hesitant or curious about what it takes to kind of like, complete those, get your eyes on what the questions are asking. And if you feel like it seems a little bit daunting, I would definitely suggest starting Intro to Coding and Intro to Coding Live. After you complete those three exercises, there is kind of a score associated with it. We're not looking for perfection, but we are looking for a level of competency. And in order to kind of add another layer of authentication on that competency, once you complete your coder bite, we do ask that you take one of those exercise questions and you create a video that's just explaining, your rationale, your method of operation, how you went about solving it. So it doesn't have to be incredibly in depth, but we do ask for you to explain kind of what your operation status was and how you attempted to complete this. And then we also ask for an essay. In a way, I kind of think of this as like your testimonial, your reason why you want to join Code Platoon, what your goals are, what you're hoping to get out of the program. This is super helpful for our instructors to understand, how you will be as a student, what your desires are. And yeah, after you complete, those three segments in part two, you'll be conditionally accepted into the program. After you're conditionally accepted, the first Wednesday of every month, we do a welcome call. Think of this almost like orientation day. It's an opportunity for us to, one, congratulate you for getting through the application process, and two, kind of gauge what's to come. So for the most part, it's about getting you on Slack, which is our means of communication for you and the instructors. Giving you an opportunity to ask some questions and learn a bit about funding. That can definitely be a big question, like how is the tuition going to be taken care of, whether that be through the GI Bill, VR&E, and then also scholarships. And then lastly, getting you set up and the expectations established for Code Platoon prep, which is basically like pre-work for you to do before your first day of class. It allows you, after you complete your application, to have some things to work on, to build some of those skills so that once we get into class, you're able to really hit the ground running.
Awesome. That was a lot of information. Thank you, Danny. Erin asked, can we intermittently stop CoderByte and then continue later? The video suggests it is a one-shot visit to the test.
You absolutely can stop, come back later. You can attempt and do it as many times as you'd like as well. Curious, Aaron, when you say the video that suggests that, what video are you referencing?
I'm guessing it's the one on the part two of the application page, the like coder byte walkthrough. And I think the main reason is you definitely can close it and come back, but it doesn't always save your progress. So definitely if you're working on something, like copy it all and save it elsewhere in like a document somewhere so that you aren't starting from scratch when you come back. But we're not going to limit how long you can spend on coder byte or whether you're allowed to come back. Just know that it is very, very encouraged to like keep a backup of what you're working on if you do leave.
Got you. Thank you for that. And thank you for the clarification, Aaron. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can take it as many times as you want. You can spend as much time on it as you'd like. Usually, I think of it as like almost like SAT, ACT testing. The more times that you go through and complete it, most likely the higher score that you'll get. And also, too, it's really helpful just to like break those thoughts down into smaller chunks and pieces. I think the first question is basically asking you to take somebody's name and count if there is X amount of spaces between the letters A and B. And, if you read that all in a sentence string, it can be like, oh, okay, well, where do I start? But if you start distilling it down into smaller tasks, it actually becomes relatively easy. And I think in general, a lot of the times when you're crafting software, it's about building on those smaller concepts and learning how to kind of incorporate some of those fundamental basics, like if else statements to sort through. If it, suffices this, do this. If it doesn't, do this. For loops, which is basically like an engine kind of running for every time that we have a letter in front, run this code. So ultimately, we're trying to see like how your mastery of all these different kind of fundamental basics of software engineering.
Thank you, Danny. One other thing I wanted to just mention because I hear a lot of people getting nervous of like, what if I fail when I'm doing the coder bite exercises? And to that, really, the answer is there's no downside to trying. Like you're either, if you fail, you'll get some constructive feedback and the opportunity to try again. We're never going to bar you based on any sort of score. You can just keep trying until you get there, or you might even succeed. And, imposter syndrome happens to everyone. But yeah, we definitely recommend just giving it a shot. And we are here to help if you need it, Danny, especially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've gone through all the coder bite exercises. I'm more than happy to jump on a call and kind of break down some of those concepts for you. Can I encourage you, like kind of put you in the right direction of how to solve these things? I definitely think that it's not rocket science. It just can take a little bit to absorb the information. And then also, we're not looking for perfection. So it doesn't need to be perfect code, perfect syntax. We just want to see the aptitude. We want to see the effort. I'm a big analogy guy and like just anecdote guy. And I remember playing football. Like I had a coach that I think it was freshman year. He had our first practice set for like 5:45 a.m. or something. And like I remember him saying that like the reason he set it so early is that it makes it easy to decide who's really serious about this or not. Because ultimately, like it is, if we let anybody in, then it would really diminish the quality of our programs. So the fact that you're putting in an effort to learn this is a big sign that you can persevere through and really achieve those goals and concepts that you're looking for.
Absolutely. I know we just dumped kind of a lot of information on you over the last like 15-ish minutes. So just gonna take a quick pause. Does anyone have any questions, any requests that we repeat something or clarify something? There's no like dumb or wrong or bad questions here. We're here to try to help y'all make the best decision for you.
Yeah, I think too, like Aaron, we had talked earlier today. Happy if you want to kind of message, but if you want to go off mic and just kind of just wrap a little bit. I know you'd been curious about our program for a number of years. Was just kind of curious, like why now? What changed that had you kind of like want to re-engage with Code Platoon?
Uh, the previous conversation I had was kind of put on pause for the fact that I was pursuing my degree, still am. And I'm with VR&E right now, but I will have 9 months of my post 9/11 for the Code Platoon when the time comes. And I just want to make sure that I'm not reinventing the wheel. I want to make sure that when I show up to class that I am able to grasp more of the concepts that are being taught than focus on just learning how to code. So
Awesome.
I've taken the time. I mean, I've got Visual Studio Code. I've got about 40 extensions on it already. I'm already building websites. I'm doing front end development. It is just HTML and CSS. I'm going to get into JavaScript, and I do have a basic understanding of Python. And the bigger concern that I have right now is making sure I take the time to study those things along with pursuing the degree so that my
Yeah.
commencement in October, November is done. I'd like to be ready for Kilo Platoon by then so that I just don't want like I saw that Django was in there. So like I've been watching some of the
Mhm.
videos that Code Platoon posts on YouTube. And they have a portion where it's in Django, and I'm concerned, and I don't want it to be a concern. If I'm doing fine, it's great, yay. But I
Yeah.
just make sure that at that time, is the class going to teach enough of the Django that I don't have a concern, i.e., I've learned enough from doing Python. Is Django just going to be a natural transition?
Yeah, and like sometimes the terminology in software engineering can feel like a splay. Like, I mean, just having worked in the space, you'll see people's tool bank of skills of like what I've worked on, and it's like everything under the sun.
Yeah.
Usually people like the specialization, but Django is a framework within Python that basically you write code within the Django framework. And at least for you, when you're mentioning Kilo Platoon, that would be heavily focused within JavaScript. The fact that you're doing HTML and C plus or CSS, that is like fantastic for web development. And it would definitely leverage React, where they will touch upon Python in Elo and in full stack software engineering is being able to establish API endpoints. So basically, if we were going to make an application that also tells people what the weather is in their location, we don't have the tools where we're just setting up these different barometers and temperature gauges all over the place. We'll just create an API endpoint that taps into the weather channel so we can port that information over. So, I think in general, it sounds like you have some of those software engineering skills, and this kind of cohort, especially full stack software engineering, would really bolster your ability to be a web developer. But yeah, ultimately, Django, what you saw online, I don't know exactly what you're referencing, but most likely that was more akin to AI, cloud, and DevOps, where we're doing more Python work. That being said, though, like, again, it's all good stuff to know. And if you get really deep in JavaScript or typically any programming language, it makes it that much easier to read another one. It's almost like if you get really good at Spanish and you're fluent in it, reading Italian becomes easier because they're both Latin-based languages. Granted, you might not be perfect and proficient in it, but I'm sure if you read maybe like a few sentences in Italian, you could kind of gain an understanding of what was being said. Maybe not as precise, but still have a good understanding.
Yeah, just to like piggyback off of what Danny said, just kind of in simpler terms, if you're concerned about like your ability to get accepted and start from there, Django, I wouldn't say you have to worry about Django for at least getting accepted. Once you get into the classroom, I would not suspect that most people who start at Code Platoon already have a firm understanding of Django. I don't think you have to worry about that. But Danny, you can correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong there. I
No,
haven't heard that
absolutely.
before. No one's ever
Yeah.
mentioned to me before, like, oh, I already learned Django for this. So,
No, and the fact that you're even spending time now, I mean, I usually tell people that like I think our kind of course guide is spending about 50 to 100 hours of coding on your own in order to feel confident to complete our exercise questions that we ask for the application process. So the fact that you're here now, even in preparation for a cohort that, I don't think Kilo, their deadline's in November. So you definitely have time, Aaron. And I think it's good for you to also think, because I've had conversations with, like even today, actually, with somebody that is currently within school. And, I always want to do what's best for the individual. And so for me, I thought, just talking with this person made a lot of sense for them to wait till they graduate before they start thinking about our cohort, because it can just be a lot. Ultimately, if you're currently in in an academic setting, if you're currently working, it can just be a lot to balance, and ultimately a lot of people can burn out. And I've personally experienced this where I just had too much on my plate one summer in college, and I was working a physical job at a kayak shop, and there was just one Sunday where my body was like, you can't keep doing this. It was like 7 days a week, learning, working out, being at the gym, kayaking, and it was just too much. And so I think being able to balance what's on your plate is really important. And ultimately, we're hoping that you have a baseline fundamental understanding of software engineering concepts. Nobody in any means is expected to be an expert in anything in particular. And I did see Jenny's question. I had actually been talking with Jenny earlier this week. It is, and I think this is the case for you, Aaron or Sean, but just for anybody kind of like listening on this recording, um, Code Platoon is a non-for-profit that is focused on the military community in particular. So every once in a while, we do get individuals that aren't affiliated with the military community. And the way that we are able to provide our resources is if you are a military veteran, if you are a spouse of a veteran, or if you are an adult dependent of a veteran. Adult dependent just means being over the age of 18. If you aren't in those qualifying fields, unfortunately, we aren't an option for you. We are very focused on giving back to the military community. We have a lot of instructors that are veterans, that are alumni from our program. But unfortunately, as the question that Jenny had posed, I don't know if they can see the chat, but she was basically asking if this is only available for US veterans, service members, military spouses, or adult dependents. And that is the case. It is only for that kind of community. So just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any misunderstanding of who could join our program.
Thanks, Danny. Any other questions from Erin or Sean? Or concerns or anything? Awesome.
Great, great. And also just one other thing that I wanted to note, I did kind of mention funding and tuition. We accept the GI Bill. We accept VR&E, so that's Chapter 31 and Chapter 33. And we also have a Pay What You Can scholarship. And I think that this is pretty incredible. What that basically means is if you fall into that bucket of a U.S. Veteran, a spouse of a U.S. veteran, a adult dependent of a U.S. veteran, and you don't have Chapter 31 GI Bill, and you don't have Chapter 31 VR&E, and you don't have Chapter 33 GI Bill, we can provide you a Pay What You Can scholarship, which is exactly what I'm describing. At one point after you get admitted in, our admissions counselor will ask you what you can reasonably pay, and you just answer honestly with that number, and we'll take care of the rest. If that number is $0, if that number is $100, if that number is $1,000, whatever that difference is for your tuition, we'll be able to come up with that financing so that you don't have to feel like you're financially, kind of put in a tough position to learn. We want to be as inclusive as possible, and I think that that's a really wonderful offering that we give. And we're not for profit, so we have a lot of donors that are expressly interested in helping our mission and helping veterans, and they will donate money to be able to fund your cohort.
Absolutely. Awesome. Are there any other final thoughts from Danny or Sanjata or any of our attendees today? Otherwise, I think we had a good 30 minutes together, and I'll let y'all get your time back.
Awesome. And I'm going to throw in just for you, Aaron and Sean, and if anybody's listening at home, it's easy to find my link. If you sign up and apply now, you'll get some emails from me that attach my Calendly. But if Aaron or Sean, if you guys ever want to put some time on my calendar to talk more in depth about anything, our cohorts, the application process, funding, career opportunities within software engineering, just feel free to throw some time on my calendar, and more than happy to chat. I know I already chatted with you, Aaron, but again, it's not like a one-time credit use. Just keep that link handy and you could always put some time on. More than happy to discuss.
Awesome. And you can also email Danny at any time. His email address is Danny at Code Platoon. It is Danny, right? Not Daniel. I get
Yes, it is
confused
Danny.
sometimes. It is Danny. Danny at codeplatoon.org. So feel free to drop in a line if there's anything that we can help you with. Otherwise, yeah, have a great rest of your evening. Thank you for joining us, and take care.
Take care, everybody. Great chatting with you all.